Hey everybody! I had a few requests recently about how we budget for groceries and meal plan, and I didn't really feel like I could tackle that unless I explained to you how we set up our whole budget for the month. So if you just entertain me for a little bit here, I will do a separate video specific to the groceries following this one. But basically, just so to set up sort of where we're at, Mike and I were married for like at least a year and a half before we actually fully merged our money. It was just, we had a big move from Alaska to where we are now in there, and we just kept putting it off. I don't know, we were both really comfortable with sort of the systems we had in place, and we talked about money a lot, and we always communicated well about it, but we just weren't completely on the same page. But definitely, shortly before Alice was born, we decided to really, merge everything. So we got, all of our joint accounts, and we started a new system of sort of tracking our expenses so that at any given moment, both of us knew exactly where we were at. The overarching philosophy, pretty much we've always shared all the information. There's no secrets, no surprises about money, and the decisions we make together are just that, joint decisions after conversation. So we started listening to a guy who does radio shows. He writes books too, but we primarily listen to the radio show. His name is Dave Ramsey, and this is sort of his basic book. Well, this is the workbook, but just a library copy of the book. But sort of as a reference, the Total Money Makeover is his program. We don't follow it 100%, but it does help inform a lot of our decisions. Pretty much works on paying off debts and being debt-free, low risk in investments and just financial matters in general, and that's really comfortable for both of us. A little disclaimer, we don't share a lot of his political views, and that doesn't play in too much to the radio show. If you check into him, if you're into the political stuff or not into the political stuff, I think that his financial advice is really sound. So he's a really strong influence, and his books have been a big help in just, making some of the decisions we've come to, some of the larger decisions. Last March, I decided to change how we were tracking our expenses. So I've used various things in the past. I've used Mint.com. I've used my own bank that I used to work with, their website, and just, saving receipts, various things, but it wasn't a really good system. So a year ago, in March, I got from Amy, Dreamflight 6000, another YouTuber. She shared how she set up their budget tracker for their family, and I asked her for a copy of her, the actual worksheet that she uses. So this is a Word document. I just printed out a sample, but pretty much for every month, we literally write down everything that we spend, and we have it broken into categories. I'm going to see about making this a Google document so I can link to it below if anybody wants to play around with it and give it a try yourselves. But we changed some of the categories, from what she had to fit our situation. Basically, for a year, we have been recording everything that we spend down to even less than $1. All of our income and all of our expenses. Since Alice was born, we have had a pretty drastic reduction in our income. I make 20% of what I used to, and we also acquired quite a few medical bills from Alice's birth when she was in the NICU for a week. We maxed out our insurance for the year, and then we've had to pay over that. So we ended up with debt from that. Also, we had an increase to our medical insurance. So that's changed some things. Before she was born, we were really in, I think, pretty great shape. We bought this house. We both had really strong credit, and we're just on pretty firm ground. But we've had some changes. Some we could anticipate, and some we couldn't. Right now, what that means for us is that the amount that we're able to contribute back to our savings every month is not where it used to be, and we are less aggressive right now with paying off our credit cards that we still have. Both of us, we are down to just 2 credit cards. We've both been paying things off little by little. but it definitely not at the amounts that we were this time last year. I'm going to film a little bit of my sample sheet, just walk you through what the categories look like and how we actually set this up. Alright, so hopefully you can see well enough on here. So at the top we do, what month it is, and most of the inflexible things, the things that we have less control over or set amounts, come first. So we have our mortgage, our phone bill, electric, all the utilities, our medical bills, which includes the payments we're making to the hospital, any co-pays we have, prescription, over-the-counter stuff, which is usually fairly minimal. We don't take a lot of medication. Contributions to savings, car insurance, our gas, car expenses, which includes repairs, parts, car wash, which we almost never do, oil change. Groceries are one of our biggest expenses otherwise, but we do have control over that, as I'll explain. House, which includes repairs, which have been a lot in this, first year and a half or so of home ownership. Furniture, anything for the yard, garden, tools. Baby stuff, which includes her clothes, gear, anything related to Alice except for like food. Pets, vet bills, their food, shots, whatever. Out to eat, that's self-explanatory. Clothes, buying clothes or shoes, and also includes dry cleaning. Any gifts we give to people. The fun category, this is our Netflix, taking Alice to the pool, if Mike goes for a happy hour, if you go to any parks or museums, anything with admission. When I used to go to yoga, that was here. And then, any purchases we sort of buy for personal reasons, like books, CDs, movies. And then we have another category where, I don't know, maybe these things could go other places or they could be their own category, but they're not regular expenses. So haircuts, postage, any travel expenses, any craft stuff for me, memberships, donations, that kind of stuff. This section is just for income, so it's Mike's regular paycheck, my regular paychecks, any other income we make from selling things, any gifts we receive. Mike gets gas reimbursement sometimes from work for travel he does for them, and then returns, refunds, rebates, that kind of stuff. So we pretty much total up our income. At the end of the month, we total our expenses, and we have a difference, which hopefully is either zero or on the plus side. So I'm going to show you how I set this up before the month starts, because I'm working on March, like I said. We basically estimate what our income is going to be. I don't want to show you guys dollar amounts exactly, but Mike has pretty steady income. I have sort of a range based on how many work days I have in the pay period, but I have a pretty good ballpark of what that is. So based on what our income is going to be, because we don't really know if we're going to have any money in this category or we might not have any money in this category, we just go based off of our paychecks alone. So that gives us a total number that we expect to make that month. And then working on that, that's how we work out how much we allot to each category, how much we expect to spend, and how much we allow ourselves to spend in each category. So really, we just take that total estimated income amount, and I estimate in each category what we expect. I think I can show you. So just as an example, our car insurance, we know that that's $65 a month. We average out about $80 a month on gas, usually less, but it's better to allot more. Car expenses, certain things, car expenses and our house expenses, because they include like sporadic big repairs, I just average them for the year. So our average is $194 here. So once I have estimates for each category, then I take our total income, start at the top of the list, and just subtract our estimations. So this is just our expectation of how much we'll have left over after paying each thing. And that helps inform some of the categories, how much money we have left to work with and how much makes sense to put aside for that purpose. And as you can see, for next March, we are left with zero. So if we go over in one of the categories, spend more than we expected to, the extra money has to come out of another category. So ideally, at the end of the month, we're left with a bit of a surplus, and that money we either apply towards our debt, which at this point we're focusing on our credit cards, getting rid of the credit cards. So we're able to throw, more than the minimum towards that. Or it sort of goes into our general pool of money that is savings for, unexpected or irregular expenses, things that are going to come up in the future. Some travel that we have planned for later in the year. And possibly a small percentage of that would go to like some purchase that we agree on together that we know we want to make. We have a wish list of things that we want for the house or just for ourselves, and so when we have a little bit extra, we have that conversation about what we really need now, what we can sort of allow ourselves. This seems like a lot of work, but it just becomes really automatic to come home, if you run an errand or pay a bill, to just automatically record it, and it becomes not a big deal at all. And actually, I think it's kind of cool. It's a really good feeling to me to know exactly where your money is going, because probably if you don't know where it's going, the news isn't going to be good. This way, we always know exactly where we're at. And it's obviously a really great feeling to be on the plus side. So it's really good motivation to be able to see where we're at, 3 weeks into the month, and that last week, be able to make some decisions so that we're left with more left over. So we're always looking for ways to make a little bit extra money, or, to turn the thermostat down a little bit. It makes us really reconsider every purchase, and the end result is that you're more in control. And I know that the time and energy is going to pay off for us in the long term. So I hope that made sense. I know financial stuff can be kind of confusing. If you have any specific questions, feel free to ask me. So I hope this helps set up my grocery budget when I go and talk about that.